This is the E60 BMW M5, and in 2005 this quickly became one of BMW's most controversial and divisive M cars ever made. Today the E60 M5 turns 20 years old, and to celebrate that I want to give you a full review of the car inside and out. I've had the car since 2017, so that's 8 years now. I'm going to give you a quick overview of the history of the car, talk about what it's like to own an E60 M5, and at the end of this video I'm going to tell you, is the BMW M5 E60 a buy or a pass in 2025? So the biggest issue people had with the M5 E60 when it came out is the body style. Compared to the older 5 Series and M5s, this was very different from anything that people had seen before and was way ahead of its time. This M5 E60, nicknamed the Flame Body M5, was so different from the other M5s, which all had that boxy, kind of classic, early 2000s, late 90s look. This is more akin to all the M cars that we see today and really paved the way for that. These days, we're so used to every new M model, whether it's 5, 4, 3, 2, come out and be super controversial. Nobody liked the new design of the vertical grills when they came out. Now people like them. Back then, that wasn't the case with BMW. This was really the first car that started that like new model kind of hate. The craziest thing about this car, and the thing everyone obviously talks about, is that S85 V10 under the hood. So that's the first thing I'm going to show you. Come on over. So, the M5 E60 sports a 5-liter, 507 horsepower V10 engine inspired by BMW's Formula One team at the time. And during this time, it was unheard of to stick an engine with this much power into a 4-door, basically family sedan. This car was competing with the likes of the Porsche 911 and similar sports car coupes of the day. The only thing was, this car had way more power, weighed a lot more, had 4 doors, and could somehow still keep up. The other thing people obviously love to hear is the sound of that V10, so let's go ahead and check that out now. This day, the V10 M5 still remains one of the best sounding V10s ever made, only really comparable with the Lexus LFA V10, which maybe beats it by a bit, but I have a personal bias. This thing is amazing. Now why don't you guys come hop in and let's go for a drive in it. The one area where the E60 M5 has shown its age now in the year 2025 is the center console and the technology of the car. You can tell that this car came out in 2005, 2006, that this car was designed in the early 2000s. The tech isn't really what it used to be, but a personal preference of mine is I actually prefer that because there's less to break when it comes to the dash of the car or the center console, for example. I would take real buttons any day over a giant iPad like the Teslas have, for example. I'm not a fan of that at all. And some of the newer BMWs have that giant screen that starts at the driver's side and goes all the way to the passenger side. Personal preference, not a fan of that. I think this is clean, simple, but I will say outdated, and it's starting to slow after 20 years of being on the road. All that ultimately doesn't matter, because when you're driving this thing, you are not even slightly thinking about what is going on in the dash, because you are feeling the road and you are loving the drive so much. So everything I've said about the car goes out the window when I'm talking about the drive, because it is its own beast. When you push the M button on this thing and it takes off the horsepower regulator, takes off traction control, this 4-door sedan turns into a Formula One inspired coupe, basically. It pushes all 507 horsepower to the wheels, and this thing just flies. Let's go. That's loud. Can I do this? control here. Let's get these windows down so you can hear. Down to 6th, down to 5th, down to 4th. Ripping it. Sounds so good. Sounds so good. If we're gonna talk about the M5 E60, of course another topic to talk about would be the aftermarket for this car. And I'm very happy to say that this car has a very rich aftermarket. Obviously, I've kind of got an OEM plus look going with the car, but there are tons of options to choose from, whether it's cosmetic or performance. In a nutshell, I'm gonna speed run you through everything I've done to the M5 so far. So I'll try my best to do this in order, but really quick, I've got the car lowered on H&R Sport Springs. I have a set of Apex EC7 wheels. They're in the garage right now because obviously it's winter. So we've got the snows on. We've swapped out the side and the front grills for matte black from the usual stock silver. We've got the Hammond style front lip along the front, alongside some really cool RPI intake scoops on the inside there. Nice little touch. Adds a little bit of horsepower at highway speeds, and I just think they look really cool too. We've got a ducktail style rear trunk spoiler on the back here, along with a Hartgis style rear diffuser, nice and subtle, doesn't go too far out the sides. I think this one looks really cool, kind of keeping with that OEM plus look. We've got an axle back exhaust on the M5, which you guys already heard earlier in the video. And you might have already guessed by looking at the car, but this is not the actual stock color. It used to be Silverstone 2 metallic. Now we've got it wrapped in KPMF black green iridescent. The dark green really pops in the sun. In the Toronto winter weather, you can't really see it that well, but coming up close, you can kind of get a better idea. And to give it a bit more of an aggressive look, the mirrors and the roof are wrapped in black. Moving into the inside in terms of modifications, there's not much going on in here. No real cosmetic interior stuff, but we do have a Sprint Booster version 3, which removes the throttle lag from the M5, gives it a bit more kick off the line, which is really cool. And I'm sure I'm missing something, but off the top of my head, nothing else comes to mind. So in terms of aftermarket, I give it like a solid 7 out of 10. It's not the most in-depth aftermarket that you have for a car. Some of the coupes like the M3s, M2s, and M4s, for example, have a bit more variety in what you can choose from. But that being said, the M5 has still got a great selection. The scariest part to talk about with this car is the maintenance. Obviously, this car is known as one of the least reliable BMWs pretty much ever made. I'm here to kind of put that rumor at ease for you, but I can only speak from my experience. Is this car an absolute money pit nightmare, like people say it is? I don't think so. I have had 2 major repairs to do that put me back a bit in the bank account. Other than that, it hasn't been too bad. Can you guess what they are? They're the 2 most popular things that are wrong with this car. Number 1 is the SMG transmission. Transmission's blown on me. I've had to get that fixed and rebuilt. It's pretty expensive. Since I got that done, it was replaced and no problem. And then the other thing was more of a preventative maintenance thing. It's something that people recommend anytime they buy a BMW M5 E60, and that is, of course, the rod bearings in the engine. They're known to spin, they're known to break, they're very fragile. I actually just got mine done late last year, so not that long ago. Not super fun, but it keeps the car on the road, keeps things nice and new, and I'd rather be paying to replace them than to have the whole engine gone. That being said, I got very lucky with this car. No other major problems so far. I know people who have bought M5 E60s and they're breaking down 2-3 weeks into ownership. Mine's been running basically since 2017, since I got it. No major issues, and we're all good. Now, the final topic to mention when talking about the E60 M5, especially if you're interested in buying one, of course, is the price now in 2025. So I got very lucky. In 2017, I bought my E60 M5 for 17,000 Canadian dollars. I'll put the US price right here. And it had 167,000 kilometers on it. It's got 250,000 now. I don't know how it's still running, but we live another day. So the one thing about the E60 M5 and M cars in general over the past 2 to 3 years is the price has steadily increased. As EVs become more popular, as sports cars and big engines and things like that become more rare, the price starts to go up. And we're talking about all M cars. The E60 M5 is no exception. Again, I can only base this on what I see online, but I've consistently kept an eye on the market for the E60 M5, and the price has almost doubled over the past few years. So currently, the cheapest M5 E60 available in Canada right now is this 2010 BMW M5 with 113K for $47,000. Again, it's not sold, so that doesn't necessarily dictate what the market price is, because you can't conclude that until somebody is actually willing to pay it, but you can guess it's about 40 grand plus. Over double what I paid back in 2017. Obviously lower kilometers, likely better condition, but still. So prices have really taken a hit for the M5 in terms of going up, so it's not as good for us car guys that want to buy them. My recommendation to you would be, if you're looking to get into a BMW M car, specifically an E60 M5 or any other M car, would be get in as soon as you can, because the prices are not going to go down. They're only going to go up, especially since BMW has stated things like they're going to be all EVs by, I think it's 2030. Manual cars are more rare than ever now. Not a lot of companies are making them. So things like big engines, manual transmissions, anything that makes an M car unique is going to drive up that price. So get in now before the price continues to rise. And that's really it, guys. There's not much more to the E60 M5. That kind of covers the last 20 years of this car, and for me specifically, the last 8 years of ownership. It's been such a cool car. It's one of the most unique cars I think ever built. And my recommendation to you, is it a buy or a pass? I'm going to say it's a buy in 2025. It's unique. They don't make cars like this. They will never make a car like this ever again. The price isn't outrageous, but it's in a good spot where it's going to go up, so get in sooner rather than later. It's not as unreliable as people think, and the engine, that sound, and the body style is something you are not going to find anywhere else. So I hope you enjoyed, guys. It means a lot to me if you could leave a like, if you could leave a sub, if you want to see more content on my M5. If you're interested in getting into the M5 world, leave some questions in the comments down below. If you may be looking to buy one, if you want to learn more about it, happy to answer anything you might be wondering. I hope you enjoyed all this. I hope it was helpful, and good luck if you're interested in getting into an M5 or just wanted to learn more about it. Either way, I hope it was helpful. I will catch you in the next vlog. My name's Chris. See ya.